All right, let's get some analysis on what's been going on. Giorgio Cafiero is the CEO for Gulf State Analytics. It's a Washington-based geopolitical risk consulting firm. He joins us now from San Francisco. Giorgio, good evening to you. In the United States, I want to start there. Is there a feeling that there could be a change in President Joe Biden's sort of unwavering support for Israel's war on Gaza, especially with what we've seen come out from the White House, not only from the president, but also the National Security Advisor and press secretaries?
Well, as your reporting mentioned earlier, there was that exchange with Jake Sullivan in which he seemed to suggest that the U.S. conditioning aid to Israel is an option on the table that the Biden team would consider. My personal view is that that is very unlikely, given the way in which the Biden administration has been dealing with Israel, given the figures who are in the Biden administration and their track records. I really doubt that would happen. Is it possible? Sure. But I think people who understand the way the Biden administration works, definitely not expecting that to happen. What we have seen in recent days, recent weeks, is that officials in the Biden administration are voicing their opinions about how Israel should not be doing certain things. But there are really no signs that the U.S. is going to use its leverage to pressure in Israel into changing any of its conduct. And until we see that type of pressure, which, as I just said, I'm not expecting any of it to come from the Biden administration, we shouldn't expect anything big here.
Let's talk about the countries in the region. When you look at this truce, Qatar and Egypt, obviously they played an important role. How much are their negotiation skills going to play in this phase of the conflict?
Well, similar to past wars between Gaza-based groups and Israel, Egypt and Qatar have been playing very important roles this time around. I think it's really obvious that these are the states that can sort of serve as a bridge between Hamas on one side and Israel and the U.S. on the other. I think there's a realization that diplomacy is necessary and that there's not a military solution to the threat that Israel perceives from Hamas, and ultimately getting these Israeli hostages and also some non-Israeli hostages out of Gaza does require negotiating with Hamas. I know many people in Israel and Washington see that as a very painful truth, but I think we can all agree that that's a fact. Getting these hostages freed required diplomacy. Getting more hostages freed will require more negotiations and more diplomacy. I have no doubt that Doha and Cairo will be the most important regional capitals when it comes to those diplomatic efforts.
All right, Giorgio, if you were listening to Mohammed just a bit earlier, he made a good point about, I think it was the decreasing popularity of Fatah or the Palestinian Authority and Hamas sort of being on the rise. How do you think this is affecting not only the United States' approach, but also regional actors as this sort of scenario were to play out even more?
This is an unintended consequence of what has happened since October 7th and also what has been unfolding for a number of years. The Biden administration, which is very out of touch with many of the realities on the ground, not only in Palestine, but throughout the Arab region at large, views the PA as the legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. But the vast majority of Palestinians view the PA and Mahmoud Abbas as very corrupt, just simply a servant of the Israeli occupiers, a man who simply takes orders from Israel and the United States. There are no achievements that the PA can point to since the 1990s that have made life any better for the Palestinians. Now you have Palestinians who are seeing these prisoners, many of them children, who were treated horribly behind bars for doing things like throwing rocks at occupation tanks that shouldn't have even been in the West Bank to begin with. They've been getting freed. And there are people in the West Bank who are saying, look, at least Hamas did something as a resistance group to bring about this outcome. And yeah, we are seeing Hamas gaining popularity. This is underscored by the Hamas flags that we've been seeing in the West Bank. And as one analyst recently said, the PA was definitely one of the victims of the Israeli war on Gaza.
Okay. Giorgio Cafiero, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much. I do appreciate talking to you.